Look, we're a little rough, but sound a little rough, but we'll make it happen.
You get a hat. Nah, I'm cool. We'll do it live.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another week of Fantasy Basketball. This week presented by District of Buckets. Glad to see you here again. If you won your game last week, comment down below. GG, easy dubs. Too easy. If you didn't win, that's why you're here. So we're going to get right into some of the talking points. We're going to talk waiver wire pickups. We're going to talk buy low, sell high. Just something slight for you this week. We had a bit of a rough week. We're on recovery mode. So you gotta ride with us for this 1 week. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week. All right, roll the tape. All right, once again, welcome back to Fantasy Basketball this week, presented by District of Buckets. I'm Tyler Castle, and with my boy Carl Baltimore, we are your lead fantasy basketball analyst for District of Buckets. Let's get right into the action, man. We're going to get right into it. We're not going to waste any time today. Let's talk waiver wire pickups. Carl, you start us off, man.
All right, so I guess instead of going directly for a player, I just wanted to talk to all the viewers out there just about monitoring your team around the actual NBA trade deadline, because we've seen names pop up, such as like PJ Tucker might be on the move, and other guys that have, that are likely going to get dealt around this time, or even if they don't get dealt, like maybe teams are holding them out just in case. So it's going to be, honestly, they're probably going to be a lot more, in my opinion, just like play it as you go, like waiver type of guy. Like once you hear someone's not playing or something happens, like there's probably a guy, like for example, how we saw in Houston, like how Houston, due to a lot of the trades that, like the trades that I just talked about with PJ Tucker coming up, plus injuries, like we've seen essentially them just pull up their G League team and have a bunch of guys that are playing starter minutes right away. And those are guys that I feel like especially during this period of time, could potentially win or lead you games if you miss out on them. And that's just kind of what I wanted to start out with before we get in depth with players.
Oh. You want me to take over from there, or you want to get into it?
Just shoot it.
I'll shoot the shit. Okay. So starting off, we got one of our Monday, Tuesday back-to-backs. As you know, here at Fantasy Basketball this week, we love our back-to-backs. It's how you're going to win your games is by maximizing your matchup acquisitions with that streamer spot you have. And so the Monday, Tuesday back-to-back we're looking at is the Lakers. They got Golden State and Minnesota, very favorable matchup for them. And with Anthony Davis being out, the guy you're going to want to look for is Kyle Kuzma. I'm sorry, we're not going to put any graphics up on the screen this week. I said before, it's been rough, but it'll be here next week. Don't worry about it. Kyle Kuzma has been playing pretty well since AD has been out. In the last two games, he's averaged 32 minutes, 24 and a half points, 13 rebounds. Just all around playing really well, and definitely a guy you should be looking out for. Moving on to that, another back-to-back that we want to look at for the Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back is the New York Knicks. And because of Derrick Rose's COVID protocols, there's been a man that I am very fond of that is going to get playing time. I've been preaching it for a while. IQ Godson, the floater king, Emmanuel Quickly. Last night, I believe, played 33 minutes, 21 points, only one turnover. So came out on top with 43 fantasy points, and that's a guy that if he gets the playing time, he's going to be really, really, really good. We got to move into the next one. Another Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back that you should be looking out for is the Celtics versus the Utah Jazz and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And let me tell you one guy that we're going to talk about all the time until the end of the season, Robert Williams, the third Time Lord. Dude balls out. Last game had 17 minutes, 40 fantasy points. 40 fantasy points. And you're probably like, oh, he probably had a good scoring game. Wrong. He had 2 points. He had 2 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steals, and 6 blocks. That's where you're going to get a lot of value for him. So if you're in a category league, Robert Williams is a guy you are going to want to look out for, because at the end of the season, Brad Stevens has said he's going to be getting minutes. And you're not going to want to miss out on a guy that's getting 40 fantasy points and 17 minutes when he's playing 35 minutes. So definitely keep an eye out for Robert Williams. pick him up now if you got the chance. We know he's already snagged up in our league, and that's a huge bummer. You hate to see it. All right, moving on. We got the Rockets. Let me find them on my schedule. We got another Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back. They play Atlanta and Golden State. And like we've said before, with all the injuries and all of the trade talks that are going around, there's plenty of opportunity being thrown around for these young guys. And one specifically that you need to look out for, Kevin Porter Jr., and then the other one, Jayshawn Tate. We've talked about Jayshawn Tate before, but his production has decreased a little bit. Kevin Porter Jr., you better swipe him fast because he's up 56% in leagues that he's owned in just this last week or so. And his first 2 games out of the G League, he is scoring 46 and 48 fantasy points and just padding the stat sheet. Every single stat sheet he's providing them. So those are guys you're going to want to look out for on the Houston Rockets on the Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back. Moving on. We got the wins. Hold on. Another Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back? Yes, sir. The Philadelphia 76ers, with the unfortunate news that MVP frontrunner Joel Embiid is out for the next 2 weeks with a deep bone bruise. It's going to leave opportunity for some centers on the Philadelphia 76ers. And one of those centers being Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard, he has proven when he does get the start that he can average 10 and 10 points, 10 boards. But an unlikely story coming out of Philadelphia is that Tony Bradley caught the start in place of Joel Embiid sitting out. So that's an interesting development that you're going to want to watch out for if you are deciding to pick somebody up on the Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back from the 76ers. That you should definitely pick whichever one is the starter. So, and I'm sure that'll be updated before the game. So just make sure you're keeping an eye out for that. All right, finally moving on to Wednesday, Thursdays. We had 3 Tuesday, Wednesdays back-to-backs for you, but now we got the Wednesday, Thursday. Washington Wizards play Sacramento, and they also play Utah. And there's really one guy that you're going to be looking out for on the Wizards that is available in most leagues and also worth a fantasy spot, and that's Rui Hachimura.
Yes, sir.
We saw him go toe-to-toe with Giannis last night and came out guns a-blazing, 29 points, 11 rebounds, 3 steals. He was balling out. I'm sure Carl's got more he'd like to say on this guy.
Yeah, just kind of I mentioned him a couple times as a pickup in the past, and he's been, I'd say pretty underwhelming based off of the minutes that he played. And then one thing I would like to point out is that Bertans and Beal did not play the last game. But, however, the last game was a big indicator in what the Wizards need to do to get him going, which is giving him maybe a little bit more of the opportunity. Well, I wouldn't really necessarily expect that scoring to be there. Like he for the first time this season showed a little bit more heart. I mean, he's been playing well during that small Wizards turnaround before they went right back to normal. He was playing well on defense, but he was going toe to toe with Giannis, really playing hard-nosed defense, and that led to him racking up the boards when he was playing good defense. And I think that's something that he knows he can do night in, night out. And he's starting to realize it, and it's just more of a win, not if, for Rui Hachimura.
Right, yeah, definitely a guy you got to keep an eye out if there is opportunity for him, like there was last night with 2 of their key players sitting out. Rui Hachimura is he's next in line. So definitely interesting to see him go head-to-head with the former MVP, former deep boy. So yeah, we're going to move into Thursday, Friday back-to-back. So you got one that we're especially taking a look at, and it's the Portland Trailblazers. They got New Orleans and Dallas on their schedule. And we love streaming Trailblazers. We got our famous Gary Trent Jr. He's probably the most mentioned name on the show. We got our famous Derrick Jones Jr., who after the first couple games of playing really well, he's taken a bit of a hit in his production. But the ever so consistent Carmelo Anthony, you put him on the court for 31 minutes, you're coming back with 31 fantasy points. The guy's super consistent, and he's going to provide. Last game, 31 minutes, had 54 points, 26 actual points, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block for the old man. So
getting active on defense.
Getting after it. Saturday, Sunday, we got the Spurs. The Spurs are playing Cleveland and Milwaukee. And the Spurs, too, are just like the Trailblazers in which they got plenty of streaming options. And the guys we're looking at, one of our commenters actually helped us out a lot with this one, is Jakob Poeltl, JAKOB POELTL, if you're looking for the search bar. The dude is super consistent, and with news that LaMarcus Aldridge is going to be sitting out because he's going to most likely be traded, Jakob Poeltl is going to get a lot of playing time for that. And not to mention Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay is getting playing time from it. Played 27 minutes in the first game back from the All-Star break, then 20 minutes. And as we're recording this, he's played 9 minutes. So an interesting development on the Spurs side. And then the ever so talked about in the fantasy basketball community, Derrick White. And he is currently going off. I'm reading this correctly. 46 fantasy points in 18 minutes.
Live right now?
Live right now against Philly. 15 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals, 4 blocks in 18 minutes. So as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about picking him up. But yeah, Derrick White, a guy that's been a little disappointing since he's returned from injury, got hit with COVID right away. A guy a lot of people were really excited about to see come back from injury. And it looks like those people that held out on him, it's finally going to pay off.
Yeah. And then also I would like to add, with a lot of those COVID guys, like we've seen trends of them having these like really slow starts once they get back. Like, for example, like when Jason Tatum said, like he felt like, his wasn't breathing as well and stuff like that. It's going to take them some time to get in shape. So maybe if some of these guys who have been on these COVID lists, like, a little slept on in your league, you might be able to go grab someone right before they start getting into a hot streak.
Yeah, that's a great point about the recent trends with COVID people. It happened with Drew Holiday too. I mean, dude sat out for 12 games or whatever, came back and was limited to 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes a game for the first 3. And is just now starting to find his rhythm. So be patient with these guys, and with the right one, it could really pay off for you. And then lastly, we got another Lakers back-to-back. So the Lakers definitely have the best schedule this week with 5 games, 2 back-to-backs within this week. And like I said before, we're looking at Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma has been playing really well. So definitely keep an eye out for them. That's all I got for waiver wires. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Really not too much I would like to add. Just kind of want everyone just to keep in their mind the stuff that I was saying, just to stay patient with those COVID guys. Really, really stay vigilant around the trade deadline. And it's like it's not necessarily like you're really waiting for like some huge name to get moved. It's just maybe like like a lower tier guy in someone's rotation gets shipped off with somebody, and then all of a sudden like there's a bunch of minutes left. And so because like this time it's really confusing to understand like which teams are exactly going to make these deals, it's more important to have in your mindset and the strategy that you're going to try to keep up with a lot of these deals that could happen during the deadline. Yeah,
definitely. That's definitely something you want to consider. There's possible talks. As a C's fan, we got talks of Jeremy Grant coming over. We got talks of Harrison Barnes coming over. And if that happens, some wings are going to take some production hits. So there's things you got to be worried about, things to consider when you're buying low, selling high, which I think is a great segue into our next segment. Buy low, sell high candidates. And this is a tough one. He's not necessarily a solo buy low or not a solo sell high candidate, but it's somebody that you package up in a deal to sweeten it up a bit. He's a sweetener. Kevin Porter Jr. coming out hot on the injured Rockets with nobody else to play. Why not put up a 46 fantasy point piece for the people? It's definitely, he can't maintain it. He cannot maintain it. We would love to see him maintain it, but he will not maintain it. And you got to – fantasy basketball is cutthroat, man. You gotta trick some people into buying these sweeteners that ain't going to be sweet for that long. So I'm looking to sell high. I personally picked up Kevin Porter Jr., took a chance on him. So I'll be looking to sweeten some deals with him here and trying to upgrade my roster a bit, free up a little streamer spot. Buy low candidates, man. There's a lot of tough ones out there right now, but we're going back to the injured people that we talked about last week. It's we're talking Nurkic, we're talking CJ McCollum, we're talking the guys that were projected to average 35 fantasy points a game this year if it weren't for their injuries. So definitely keep an eye out for those guys. Don't let them fly under the radar just because they have been injured for so long. Doesn't mean they can't come back guns a-blazing. Nurkic is on his way back. He said his wrist is feeling good. I mean, it was only his wrist, so he's been conditioning this whole time. Just a matter of getting him back on the court and making sure he could stay healthy for the rest of the season so the Trailblazers can make a run. Those are my buy low, sell high candidates. What do you got, Carl? You got anything you'd like to add?
Actually, yes, I got a little bit I would like to add. I've got an interesting buy low, sell high on the same team right now.
Okay.
Telling you guys to usually I hate recommending anybody that plays for the Timberwolves at all, but to keep an eye out on Malik Beasley's suspension. Just for this is more long term past should it be 12 games past past the trade deadline?
Well, it's 12 games. He's already served 5.
Already 5. So yeah. So if you can afford to make a move, I'd say now before he comes back. If you have, I don't know how much basketball you guys watch, but it's the Wolves. They look hopeless, and he's by far the most consistent performer with with Cat out a lot, and he's going to benefit also by being able to play with him. It's going to be another guy that I think might be a little rusty first couple games back because those long absences do suck. But I think you can maybe get someone who is probably this is my thing. If they're upset with him, go for him. I think you can get him at a lower value than someone would probably have in your league in their mind on their roster, and that segues me into sell high. So sell high, Anthony Edwards. Kind of a bold one just because it seems like, maybe statistically, he's slowly getting it together, which I think he is, but he's going to have a couple guards come back and really, dominate touches a little bit more than him. And I think the time to deal him would be right around that time when Beasley starts to come back. Maybe if it's maybe Beasley comes back and Edwards has a pretty good game, right as he's back in the lineup, I would deal him right away, just because of the opportunity. I think is gonna dwindle once they start to get it together.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of a point that I wanted to bring up, and that's we're getting close to the end of the season, which means we got to start paying attention to wins and losses. We got to pay attention to records because the Timberwolves are by far the worst team in the league. They're so bad. And why risk your up-and-comer, your young player, all these minutes all the time towards the end of the season when you kind of want to lose? You kind of want to keep losing. But that also transitions me into Ricky Rubio is taking advantage of the lack of point guard minutes from other people. So if you're looking for a point guard filler, looking for a guy that can get steals, assists, Ricky Rubio could be your guy.
Yeah. Also a name to keep in your mind just in case he gets dealt, because there have been some talks about him maybe getting traded during the deadline.
Yeah, for sure. All right, boys. Well, we know it was a quick one. We threw it together. We're recovering.
Yeah.
We're still bringing you the best info. We're not going to let you down. No weeks off except for the All-Star break, which, by the way, hopefully you guys had a great All-Star break. If you're still here with us, man, we appreciate all the views from last time, all the subscriber growth. It was great. We hadn't hit 1,000 yet, and then on any video, and then this last week we hit 1,800 views on our main podcast, and then even hit up to 1,500 on the segmented podcast. So we really appreciate you guys. We aren't going to let you down. Next week we're going to come back. We're going to come back guns a-blazing. We're going to bring the heat. Carl, anything you'd like to say?
Parting shots. Thank you guys for putting up with us today. Without recovery. Hey, just kind of just piggybacking off of what Tyler just said. Just really appreciate you guys for staying through the videos. For those that do to get to this point, and everyone who watches us and subscribes, you guys are the ones that drive a lot of the content, and also any changes and stuff that we eventually make is going to be because you guys want it. And so we want to be as interactive as we can. There's been a couple people on Twitter that have reached out to me. We've had some people on Instagram reach out to me. I always try to do my best to get back to everyone. And if I don't, I apologize. Just keep hitting me up. I'll make sure I do it. So I'd like to keep that door open and to have that conversation between you.
Yeah, to the guys that did hit you up on Twitter, man, that was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so cool to finally see that it has grown to different platforms other than YouTube. So we really appreciate you guys. And just for like a heads up, Carl is the one that runs the District of Buckets Twitter account. And so when you tweet at him, you're tweeting at him.
Yeah.
I like to be in the conversations too. If you want me to be there, you can tag me. But if not, Carl handles business too. So we really appreciate it. It's been super cool. It's been a super cool journey. And we got a lot of stuff in the works for the off season, man. It's not just gonna be fantasy basketball related. We're gonna do some pretty cool videos inspired by a guy, Clayton Crowley. If you guys haven't checked out his videos, Clayton Crowley's videos, he does great, like in-depth analysis of making the case for who the GOAT is, making the case for who the best team ever is. So make sure you check him out. We're gonna try and make similar content to that because that's the stuff we really like to do, but we like to help you guys out in fantasy world too. So like I said, it's been a great journey. And we look forward to the growth, not just during season, but in the off season when we're getting into the nitty gritty of some other stuff. Like we really do love this stuff. So thank you guys. I think that's it. That wraps up the first week back from the All-Star break. I hope you guys enjoyed the break. Hope you guys got your teams right. Really appreciate y'all. Peace.
Peace out.